This is The Vanessa Barrington Show. Hi, I'm Vanessa Barrington, also known as the Book Doula, founder for Healing House Publishing, psychic medium, and a woman on a mission to heal the world through stories. If you're a healer, coach, creative, or expert, I help you turn your story into a published book and a global movement that builds authority, impact, and legacy. This is not a writing podcast. It's a show where I explore voice, truth, spirituality, and what it really takes for you to trust yourself and share your story with the people who most need it. This is The Vanessa Barrington Show. This week on the podcast, I have a very, very special guest, Railene Turner-Rose. Now, Railene and I have been working together for almost coming up to 12 months now. And in today's conversation, we're really going to dive into the journey that she has been on since joining the Book Doula program and her journey to become a career writer, a professional writer. So without further ado, I would love to invite Railene to come on down. Hey, Railene, how are you?
I'm great, Vanessa. Thank you, firstly, so much for this opportunity. Really appreciate it.
Oh my gosh, it's our honor. Honestly, I'm so excited for this conversation because even in the short time that we have started working together, I have seen such an incredible shift in you as you step forward with creating an author brand and finishing your memoir and all of those things. I'm really excited for this conversation and just to share a little bit behind the scenes with those people that are listening about what that journey has been like for you. I know that they're just going to be so excited about this. So firstly, I would love for you to share a little bit about you and your background for people that are brand new to you, Railene.
Sure. Okay. So I suppose music's always been a part of my life. So I started playing guitar at 8. When I finished high school, I became a sound engineer, did the whole circuit at a record label. So when you read my nonfiction, there's a real music theme to it, and it's not a parasocial thing. It's just part of my blood, I guess. Professionally, my background has been in marketing and events management, mostly in the music and professional sports industry, and then more recently in government and infrastructure. So writing, I guess, has always been part of my journey, but not writing a book. So that was a surprise for me in 2025.
And I love what you say about music as well, because as you know, I play guitar self-taught very badly, but music is absolutely in my blood as well. I think having the Irish heritage, it's kind of a non-negotiable. Like when you get born, you are not allowed to be Irish unless you do us a song, would you?
Absolutely. Love it.
So you have you've finished day one again, which is going to be your debut memoir. And we have been working furiously behind the scenes. You've joined the Book Doula program, I think in September or August last year. You've come in this year to work with me, VIP one-on-one for the 12-month period. We're really in the stage where we're working with the beautiful Heidi Glasson on book design. And the book is now kind of getting put together. But I'd love to take people right back to where the first moment came for you in terms of writing this memoir. Like, how did it come about for you?
I had actually been writing some fiction work, and I thought, you know what, I just need to get some things out and down about me personally. So I didn't plan on writing a memoir. I just started, I guess, to more actively journal. And after about 6 weeks, it sort of became a book. And I guess,
accidentally wrote a book.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty much the whole story, to be honest, Vanessa. Yeah. Look, even with the fiction work, it was like that. I'd come out of, or had been sitting in a pretty heavy period of grief, I suppose. And I had a dream, and the dream was like a spark, and I just wrote and wrote and wrote. Yeah, I think that inspiration or whatever it is that cracks us open can come in 1,000,001 different ways, and we just run with whatever the universe lands in our lap, really.
Absolutely. Absolutely. When you get that nudge. And I love what you say, because for you, it has been very much, kind of intuitively guided and really, that true kind of creative spark of inspiration and then wanting to flow with it. I love what you say in your intro. I think it is on the website. It's like recovering perfectionist with a mouth bigger than my ass and zero interest in pretending otherwise. And gosh, that made me giggle, because you and I say this with so much love, you're probably have one of the bluntest writing voices that I have ever come across and edited. And I love it. It's like a bit of a slap in the face in many ways. And it just has this pacing to your writing that really draws people in and creates a narrative that brings people right into your brain and right into your world. But I'd love for you to share, like, what is the book about for people that don't know about it?
Well, thank you for that. And thank you for actually understanding my voice and actually letting me be me. So that was so supportive and that was so important. So thank you firstly for that. But the book itself, I guess I had struggled with weight and I haven't finished that weight loss journey, but I really wanted to focus on, I guess, the politer addictions, perfectionism, being a workaholic, being a people pleaser, even parentification. There's a whole host of things. And whether it is a bottle, whether it's a packet of Tim Tams, whether it's working till 1 a.m. and not seeing your kids, it's the same thing. We're either chasing something or running from something. And I think when people read the book, it's not actually a weight loss thing. There's no talk really about scales or weights or things, because really it's the weight that we actually carry, the weight of the world, not whatever that physical number might be. And deliberately I wanted to steer away from people saying, well, she lost weight quicker than I did, or she had more weight to lose than I did, or I've got more weight than her. Like, I just don't want people to compare. We're all on our own journey. Our voices are all really important. So I wanted to take that piece off the table. But really it explores a lot of things, not just that addiction angle, I should say, but I suppose grief, what I call cougar puberty. I mean, there comes a point where they want us to be smaller or silenced, and I am not up for that at all. And if anything, at the end of the book, I just hope people feel just a little bit braver.
Because you do really dive in. You give a very different perspective to addiction in this story, and love what you say there about humans, like we're always chasing or craving something. And so for you, what did you learn about yourself through that process, the writing process?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I learnt was that even though I kind of felt like in many aspects I had compromised myself, I was really carrying everybody from a really young age, I still managed to keep that spark of me alive inside. And I hope that shows in the writing. I just think it's so important to be authentic, and equally it's important to be accountable. And that's probably something I've touched on in the book, because it feels to me that as a society, we kind of like to put labels on things, and there's a real propensity to be victims. And that's not saying that terrible things don't happen. I'm not interested in big T's or little T's or whatever. It's whatever we've experienced, right? But ultimately, we need to be accountable for getting ourselves back on track and for the life that we want to lead. And you know what? If we keep blaming someone else, then that's just giving them control over our future too. And who wants to do that?
100%. Personal responsibility, I think, is something that a lot of individuals do struggle with. And can be really easy for us to get so wrapped up in a constructed identity of who we are that it's like, well, this is who I am now. What happened to me? And it's like, actually, you get to change all of that. And that's such a big part of your story, really, isn't it? It's like, and also there's this element as well I love that you explore in terms of the book, this theme of failure, or redefining failure. I'd love for you to speak into that a little bit, because obviously even just the title, like Day One Again, indicates that there's a starting over. Can you talk to that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, how this book, I guess, really started was I had been running some errands and I was just sitting, having a cuppa and scrolling on my phone, and I saw a post. So a musician that I quite like had posted a quote that a friend of his had sent him from Marcus Aurelius. So I guess this goes back to ancient Rome. And it was said, practice the impossible. And I kind of sat with that, because that's what life is, like, okay, I might jump on the scales and be at my goal weight, or someone might check out a rehab or whatever it might be. And people will go, well done, you've done the hard work. Well, actually, you haven't. The hard work actually starts there, because you've got to maintain it. That's where that day one again comes from, and if for my dieting life, it was like an AA thing, I would have, a filing cabinet full of month one chips. You know what I mean? Because I've fallen, it's a tough thing to do. Anything is tough to give up. until you actually figure out what it is that you're running from or what you're chasing. So what hole are you trying to fill? It doesn't matter whether the substance is alcohol or food. You know, it can be technology. People will check their phones every 5 minutes. Who loves me? Who doesn't love me? How many likes did I get? How many reshares did I get? That's an addiction too, you know? So I guess, yeah, I think that it's just important to accept that not every day is going to be perfect, and also to plan for it. Like, it was my birthday in March and I knew that I absolutely was on a program, but I also wanted to be able to live. So I scheduled in what I was going to do for my treat. And then you just get back on the program the next day. So that was my new day one again. Don't spiral if you fall off the wagon, whatever that wagon might be. Just pick yourself up and it's day one again.
Yeah, it's okay to have those slip ups and it's funny because, you know, this has almost been a little bit of a theme I've noticed with some of the conversations I've had over the last week with different people. And looking back, one of the big things that I found when I first started my business that I really struggled with was this kind of all or nothing mentality. And I see it a lot as well, like with a lot of creatives that I work with. And I used to have this real mentality where it was like, I have to be perfect. It has to be 120%, and not even 100%. Like 100% wasn't good enough for me. It had to be 120. And like, if any part of that was not 120%, I would literally be like, well, fuck it. I'm just not going to do it at all. And that would play out in my health choices. It would play out in my lifestyle choices. It would play out in business, in every single aspect of my life. And there was so much work and reprogramming, and really return to self-love is kind of what I hear in that for myself, that I had to do, you know, to go, it's actually okay to screw up. It's okay to go to the gym once instead of 3 times that week, and then, you know, the next week do nothing, and then a month do nothing, and then go back to it. But I was very all or nothing. It was like, okay, it's got to be 6 days a week or forget it. If it's not 6 days, then that's it. I'm done.
Yeah, 100%. I can relate so much because that was the first 55 years of my life. There was no, like, everything was dialed up to 11. I would track everything with a spreadsheet and I would monitor. And if I didn't excel, like if every day was not better, not even just as good, but if it was not better, you would think I was training for the bloody Olympics, right? But, you know, and I was like that with every aspect of my life. So I can completely relate. And I guess I want to be careful here because managing myself like a project didn't work. Because I was like, you know what, Railene, you're successful with A, B, C, and D. Why can't you control your weight? Well, guess what? I'm actually a human. We're all humans. We can't actually be managed by data points. So that was probably a big lesson for me, that I actually can't control everything and that it's okay to not control everything.
Yeah.
Equally, I don't want us to tip too far into the whole, how do I say it? I guess a lot of addiction conversations and books out there, they're either trauma porn where people are picking up because they want to see the junkie in the public toilet, or it goes to the complete other end where everyone's holding hands and it's not your fault and everything's just going to sit out there with the universe. Now, I do believe that in all of that kind of a thing, but there just seemed to be nothing practical, nothing real in the middle. Like, we actually do need to be accountable. We can't just sit there and do nothing. I think one of my favorite quotes was Dr. Phil, and he said, if you're out in the middle of the lake and your boat's taking on water, by all means pray to God, but get your oars and row to shore. So we've got to kind of do both. So be accountable and also hand it over.
Totally, totally. You've heard me talk about this before as well, like care deeply, detach from the outcome. And this is the muscle that I think a lot of people don't flex in the lead up to the launch of a book, because ultimately, like, once you put the book out there, what people think of it is it's got nothing to do with you. It's not your business anymore. I think that detachment but caring deeply is such a muscle. And like, the more that we fail, so to speak, perceived failure, because there is no failure, but the more that we have experiences, and life gives us experiences where we get the opportunity to eat the shit sandwich and have to kind of be humbled in some ways, the stronger that we get to be able to go, you know what, this isn't actually about me. I'm in integrity with doing the best that I have, and I can kind of detach from, book sales does not equal self-worth, I guess, is where I'm kind of going with that. I'm sure there's going to be some people listening going, what, you just woke up one day and 6 weeks later you wrote a book? Are you joking? Even I have a little bit of envy around how beautifully and how nice your book has just flowed out of you. What have you found hard about this process so far? Recognizing that the book is not out yet. You're in design we're in the design stage right now of putting the book together. But what have you found hard about the process so far, if anything?
I guess one thing I want to circle back to is that detachment piece. You gave me a stunning piece of advice about a book that you were reading that was recommended to you by somebody that you'd met on a train. And it was about focusing
The Magician's Way.
Yeah, absolutely. So focusing, on the end game and not how you get there. So that was a big lesson for me because, again, Spreadsheet Queen did resurface, right? So I had to learn that lesson again. But the writing part wasn't difficult. And I think that maybe, and we're all different, so I'm just going to put it out there for people to take on board or not, but just back yourself. You know what? Not everybody's going to love my voice. And I know that. And that's actually okay because not everybody's loved me in the 55 years of my life. And that's been totally fine too. Trust yourself. You can write it. You can look at it and go, you know what? That's actually crap, but that's your decision to make. And what other people think, again, that's on them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I know that for you that you're working on a few different titles. You've got a trilogy. There's also some secret pseudonym work going on, little spicy, which I love. There's bits and pieces everywhere. I see for you, and we've had that discussion, and I know something you really want to do is there's a lot of books to come. Part of that process, as we know, is getting work edited and hiring a book editor. For you personally, how have you found that process, and what advice would you have for someone that is listening about how to pick a good book editor? Because I think there is definitely an element of surrender that's required in handing your work over, but also there are some things that you can, I guess, consider in that process.
Yeah, absolutely. So I can say that working with you has been an absolute dream.
I paid her to say that, guys.
Honestly, I did have a real challenge with the fiction writing, and I did find an editor that has 25 years industry experience with a publishing house, and I sent the fiction work to go through a developmental edit. I didn't even know. I had no idea that there were such things as developmental edits or structural edit. I had no clue when I started this. I just thought I would write and somebody would edit it at the end and say, yep, well done. And I just thought it would be more, I guess, of a functional type edit rather than the story arc and all that. Anyway,
grammar and punctuation.
Yeah.
What we think a book editor does before we realize what book editors
exactly.
do. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So I got the feedback back, and it was a developmental edit, and there were all of these suggestions, and I was so willing to accept that I was new. But I was like, you know what, Railene? You don't know what you're talking about. I knew that I liked what I'd written, but I wanted to not be that protective and that shut down. I took on board every piece of feedback. I applied every suggestion that came back in that developmental edit, and I thought that I was a hero for doing that. And I sent it off for line edit, got the line edit back, and that was great work. And then I read the whole thing back to myself and I burst into tears, and I hated it. And I was up until 1 a.m. and I just pulled it apart, and I took it back to pretty much what I wanted. And the really interesting thing was I was having that meltdown, and the very next morning I had a coaching call with you, and you had just read Day One again. And the feedback I got from
you, which
is
the memoir.
Which was the memoir, the nonfiction piece. And your feedback was so wildly different about understanding my voice and who I was to the fiction editor that it gave me a massive amount of confidence. So thank you for that. Yeah. So I guess what I learned from that experience with the fiction thing is that, you know what, they may be industry experts, but she was right. She was reviewing it from what does a publishing house expect to see? What are the traditional tropes? And I'm not a traditional writer
by no means.
So I guess I learned you've got to be open to the feedback. You've got to take it on board, but don't lose yourself or your voice in it. If there's something in your gut that's telling you, you know what, I'm going to back myself, back yourself. And I would rather do that and sell 0 copies than not be happy with the product I put out there.
100%. And thank you for sharing that so vulnerably, because I think this is something that, you know, it's such a fine balance for the process and also for editors too. And I think I sometimes feel like I'm cheating a little bit, to be really honest, because I am a psychic medium and I have my beautiful guide, Adrian, there. Like, I can tune in so quickly to the finished product, like the energy of a finished book before it's finished. I kind of know what it's asking and what the author is asking for it to become. And so in some ways I do feel like I'm cheating when I'm editing, because it's like, even every editor is going to be biased, and there are 100%, you know, sometimes, and this is part of the reason why in my program I focus so little on the technical aspects of being a writer, because yes, there are definitely technical things that we need to learn and master to be a good writer. The issue that I see is never actually about whether the writing is good or not. It's about all the head noise and the crap that we carry to get to actually share and trust our voice and to tune into that. And I think that's where, you know, for people, it is like, don't lose your voice when you're getting it edited, but also be coachable, be open to the feedback. But it is that fine line, isn't it? It really is. And, you know, if I had $1, I've had a lot of people over the years come to me and really been damaged, I want to say, and I have been as well. In fact, like one of the most heartbreaking moments of my little writer's life that I often go back to and had to do a lot of work on was, you know, when I was at uni and I majored in creative writing, and I am an excellent poet. I will claim that. I'm an excellent poet. And I received this feedback from a tutor back when I was at uni, and she read a piece of my writing. She said, well, that's purple prose shit, you know, like kind of fluffy, flowery, whatever. And it just broke my little 18-year-old heart, because I knew that for years I'd been writing poetry and I knew my poetry was good, and it made me stop writing poetry for a long time. Yeah. And that's why I get to do what I do now, Railene, because I've had the heart broken, and I know. And, you know, it's so, you know, I think book editors need to to be honest and be truthful and be kind and fair, but also they have to look at work from the perspective of the author and what the author's trying to achieve, rather than what they see as best practice or cookie cutter out of the box kind of narrative arcs and things like that. And that's why I purposefully just don't go there in my program, because I'm like, you know what, for every rule there's a exception to that rule that has worked really, really well. And yeah. So, and I know you're a rule breaker.
Look, it's not even that. And I was so willing to be coachable. I was so willing to be like, you know what, Railene, you don't know the business of this. But then when I'm like, yeah, but I'm not writing Hallmark, you know, and people are talking about something happens in the 3rd arc. And I'm like, I don't want to know. I do not want to look at your little sheet that tells me where I have to drop tension in. Not interested, you know, and this, I guess, is where our working relationship extended beyond the nonfiction piece, was actually me being able to reach out to you and say, hey, this is what's happened. Look at what I think is the right result. Look at what I actually did with the other editor, and, you know, and you review it, because I trust you with your craft and with your business and your expertise, but I also trust you to understand me. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's so important, to find the right people to work with and have in your team. So definitely. And thank you for saying that too. That's very kind. Well, I guess we've got to be, you know, if people read day one again, hopefully they will read day one again. I don't say things that I don't mean.
No, that's true.
That's pretty clear.
That's so true. So talking about day one again as part of this process, You're establishing your author brand. You've got a beautiful new website. You've started on Substack as well. I'd love for you to speak into Substack and the setting, that whole piece, because I know that this is an area that, like, the building an audience and calling in your readers and all of that can feel like this kind of other thing that us writers have to do that we really don't want to do.
And the crazy thing is, if I was asked to do it for somebody else, like in my consultancy work, absolute piece of cake. But when it comes to actually marketing yourself, it can be a bit of a challenge. You mentioned about your psychic abilities. How hard is it to read yourself?
I can't. I cannot. And, I love you for saying it, because it came up last week, actually. I was getting my butt kicked by my coach, and he was like, just let me help you. I'm in this beautiful lesson at the moment of learning to receive, because I just give and give and give to others. I've had a history of overgiving, which is far more balanced these days, but it's something I have to place my attention on. And he was trying to help me with something, and I just kept jumping in and going, yeah, and I'm going to do it. And he's like, can you just let me help you? Let me help you receive.
You know what? And that's a big lesson. It is a really big lesson. So, maybe we were twins at some point in time, because everything that you're sharing about what you've struggled with, I can completely relate. And I don't think it's a bad thing. I don't want to say that it's part of the healing journey that I was on necessarily, because we should never not want to help, right? Like, I don't ever want to change some really fundamental things about myself. And it could be that I do want to help, and it could be that my mouth is bigger than my ass, and that they're two things that probably will never change, and I'm completely okay with that. I guess my nonfiction brand is Railene Writes. And because I can be a bit mouthy, and I do have opinions, and I do like to maybe challenge some thinking, I've created Railene Rocks. So that's, I guess, the sister brand, and that's the Substack brand. And I think there are things out there that I will put on there, that I have put on there, that are going to be a little bit confronting for some people. But I think that the people that like the Substack voice will embrace the day one again voice. I think some people that need the day one again message might find the Substack work a little bit confronting. So I guess I'm driving Substack to the book, not the other way around. And then obviously sort of Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And LinkedIn, oddly enough, had been the surprise packet for me. I'm getting engagement on there from people that know me through my professional career, like my working career to date. And that's actually been really good. So don't necessarily follow what people are out there saying you have to be on TikTok. Well, I don't want to be on TikTok. Oh, you don't need LinkedIn. Well, hey, maybe you don't, but it certainly hasn't hurt. So I guess don't limit yourself, and try and find out what works for you, and capitalize on your existing network. We've all got connections. Just because I might be pivoting into the author career doesn't mean I turn my back on what's got me to this point either.
No, and I think people want to help you, right? And I think as well, like, people love hearing about these kinds of pursuits, because I think a lot of people really want to do stuff like this, and then they just don't give themselves the permission.
Yeah. Look, I think even if people can't help, they want to encourage you. I think more people out there are happy for you than there are people that want to cut you down. And there's always going to be that. It's just life. So let people that want to support you, let them support you.
Yeah. I want to change subject a little bit and talk about the woo, because, we've got to talk about the woo at some point. You've got a bit of a connection to the whole, that's esoteric spiritual space in your family. I'd love for you to share a bit about that, and then also tell us about anything that you found interesting around the book experience.
Oh, yeah, no problems. So, yeah, my mum was a psychic medium and feng shui practitioner. So I guess it's always been in the family. I won't get into little things that I sort of experienced in my childhood, because that's not what this is all about. I guess the first thing that came up, I was about 5 and I was hysterical. My parents couldn't settle me. I woke up in the middle of the night and I was beside myself that my grandfather had died. And it was that bad that they bundled me up in the car and drove me to my maternal grandparents' house. And we lobbed up at like 4 a.m. and woke everyone up. And it's like, look, see, he's alive. He's fine. Pop's fine. And we're all sitting there, and about an hour later, that grandparent's phone rang, and it was my dad's older brother saying that their father had passed away. So my grandfather had died. They just didn't realize which grandfather I was sort of talking about. And a similar thing had happened with Dad's mother when I was about 10, and his sisters rang and said, oh, Mum's not going to make it. You need to drive down to the hospital. You need to come and see her and say goodbye. And they were bundling me in the car, and I said, well, really, there's no point because she's already dead. Delivered with all of the tact of a 10-year-old wearing Ace Frehley face paint, right? But, and it was true, they had lied. She had already passed away, and they just did it to get Dad down there. So I guess there's always been little things that have come through for me. A really beautiful thing was after when my mother's father died when I was also 10, my two grandfathers stood in my bedroom door one night together, just sort of checking in on me. I didn't know this, but they actually knew each other. They used to drink together when they were young lads, talk about Irish. So, yeah. But I guess there's all of that. Now, around the book, it was something that I only just discovered in the last couple of weeks, that the title reduces to a number 6 in numerology. And my consultancy business is in its 6th year. And as you know, there was somebody that's been, I guess, a creative influence, and I'm having the opportunity to give a copy of my book to this person. Their surname actually happens to be 6, and the day that we're meeting is actually a 6 as well. So I don't know, people want to call it the devil's number. For me, I'm feeling pretty lucky about 666.
And it's so funny. Something popped up on my Instagram today from another psychic medium, because, the algorithms like to feed you the stuff. And in it, he said, I'm seeing 666. And he said, I want to make it clear that's not a devil message. It's actually a message of rebirth and transformation. So that's the second time today I've heard that. You hear it twice. You don't wait for the third. You pay attention.
No, exactly. And look, I'll be honest, I actually got the Japanese kanji for number 6 tattooed on my hand last year. I don't know why I picked the 6, why it came through, but I guess I'm seeing it all line up and play out.
Amazing. I love it. So that's your number 1 year is in fact a 6.
Yeah. So it seems. I mean, my personal year number is an 11. So it's good to have a master year for all of this kicking off. So yeah.
Exciting. So what's your vision for this book once it's out, Railene? I know there's a very specific thing that you are calling in, and I'm a firm believer in speaking aloud what it is that you wish to create, because I think that the universe has a beautiful way of really reorganizing itself to bring in what it is that we wish to create. So now is your opportunity. I would love for you to share what it is that you're calling in with this book.
I think the really important thing that what I want to call in with the book is actually to be able to do workshops, panels, present, and actually talk about the topic and speak to people in a very real and warm way. There is obviously the person that I said that was a creative influence, and I would love to share a stage with that person. And the universe is not being subtle at all. There is actually a writers' conference in this person's hometown in America when I will actually already be in America. So I think the universe does deliver when we detach from how it's going to happen, but just sort of putting that out there. So,
you guys will have to wait until the book comes out in September. It's releasing with Healing House Publishing. Railene, where can people find you who want to come and connect with you?
Sure. So I'm on Instagram and Facebook, and the handle is Railene Writes, and my website is railenewrites.com. So pretty easy to find me. I look forward to engaging with you, and be prepared for probably some unsubtle newsletters that will land in your inbox if you wish to subscribe.
I love it. Guys, make sure you go and check Railene out. I will put her links in the show notes. An exceptional writer. I'm very excited for what is to come for you, Railene, and to see you calling your people, and especially those that love a little controversy and aren't afraid to be honest and truthful. I think are going to resonate a lot with what you have to say. The book Day One again is out in September as well. So stay tuned for that, guys. Make sure you're following Railene and also the Healing House Instagrams to find that. Railene, you've been awesome. Thank you so much for today's conversation. Is there anything else you want to add before we wrap up?
Look, if there is anybody out there that's just feeling a little bit hesitant, if there is anything that you take from me, is to just be brave. Just have a crack, just do it. Yeah. And thank you, Vanessa. I really appreciate the opportunity. It's been a great morning.
You're so welcome, Railene. Thanks for coming on the show. It's been awesome.
My absolute pleasure. I hope we can do it again.
Yeah, we will. When the book comes out, for sure.
Exactly. Thank you so much.